I'm Jonny Smith.
I'm Richard Porter.
And this is Smith & Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, 25 plate.
Exactly, yeah. When does that actually happen? March, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
It's just not important anymore.
No, I know.
And is that because it's not important to anybody or because we're not kids?
I think, well, the consumption of new cars has changed. I was actually talking about this and many other things to my dad over Christmas. And I said to him that, of course, when you saw a flash car years ago, a new one, driving by, it felt more special because there was no credit that we know exists, finance, like the way you buy cars now.
Yeah.
So if you saw a 100 grand car go by, you were like, that person's bought a 100 grand car with 100 grand.
Oh.
And so there was that feeling of like, that's proper wealth, not faux wealth, that's actual wealth.
There was a higher purchase, but I don't think probably it was extended to Rolls Royces and things. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure that you could probably buy them through a Buzz and Us venture, and somehow, if you were the MD and you just suddenly went, I have to have a Bentley Turbo R.
Yeah.
I just have to.
But you're right. I think mostly if you saw a Bentley Turbo R that had been bought for cash money, I would assume. That
was actual wealth. So now wealth, I'm doing inverted commas thing in the air. Wealth's not as clear cut, I don't think.
It's true. Well, because I suppose we've lived through an era of very cheap borrowing, haven't we? So,
indeed.
Welcome to Smith & Sniff 2025. We're taking some tips from Martin Lewis. It's going to be all about financial. Have we ever talked on the podcast that thing we used to riff about where Martin Lewis has got a nemesis called Lewis Martin who lives across the road and he's always leaving all his lights on. Constantly just, like Martin Lewis is twitching his curtains and going, what the bloody hell? He's got another new car.
The neighbourhood WhatsApp group is just fuming because it's like, there's me turning all my Christmas lights off when I go out for the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then Geezer on the other side he basically leaves cars running on the drive half an hour before he goes anywhere with the wife.
Yeah, that's Lewis Martin. He's always doing that. He leaves his front door open while he's coming and going to his running car.
Yeah.
And when Martin Lewis comes out and goes, "Oi, Lewis Martin, turn your bloody car off. And remember to change your credit card every year." And Lewis Martin's like, "Haven't changed my gas and electricity provider for about 20 years, you prick. Now fuck off."
P.S. We're going away for a month to Barbados. I've left the heating on at 26. Oh, and the back door's ajar.
Yeah. Haven't got any timer switches. Just leave all the lights on all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you shop around for your flights to Barbados? No,
and I don't give a shit.
I just went with the first sponsored link on Google and booked it straight away on the credit card I haven't changed that I got free when I bought a bike lock.
Yeah, he's that guy that just if everything's overpriced, he knows it'll be better in his head. So he just overpays and then tells people, you never guess how much I paid for that.
I've known a couple of people like that.
Yeah.
People go, if it's more, it must be better. Well, that's not necessarily true, is it? I mean, sometimes it might be true.
I can't say this, which is why it never ended up on the video. But I did do a barn find on an old gentleman's car that was actually a very rare car, but in quite a state. And he came out to see us. He was quite frail. And he kept telling me how expensive his shoes and jacket were. And the thing is, it's my videographer, Phil, who was keeping himself to himself and just filming close-ups of the car. When the guy went back in, Phil went, "There's no way that jacket was 600 quid, maybe 60 quid. And he went, "Oh yeah, my son got me this for my birthday. 600 quid it was." It was like, his son has totally fleeced it. He has no idea. If he thinks that's a 600 quid jacket. Honestly.
The former studio director of Top Gear and the Grand Tour, Brian Cline, a lovely man in many ways, but famed for his rather unusual dress sense and love of a designer label.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he'd come walking in on studio day into the presenter's green room wearing at one point he had this cow print coat.
Oh, wow. Proper free party coat.
Yeah. And he used to wear really extraordinary shoes as well. But his standard defence, when inevitably someone immediately called him out by going, "What the bloody hell are you wearing?" He'd go, "It's Armani."
Oh, right.
Like, you know, all the superhero films when someone fires a laser at someone, and like Captain America, the shield goes up, boom, bing, and it fires off. Brian's shield was, it's Armani, or it's Dolce & Gabbana. That was his immediate defence. You go, that's not a defence. It's still a horrible coat.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you went, I got it from the middle aisle. Little. It doesn't matter.
Brian Klein. I've never met Brian Klein.
He's a lovely man.
I hope he has a number plate with his, BRIKLI. Bricli.
No, he
something.
He does have a private plate, but it's not that.
Okay. But you won't tell me what it is because...
No, I'm not going to read out private plate on there. But,
no, don't do that.
In fact, somebody sent us an email over the Christmas break. So, and I'll never find it now. They'd spotted an Audi parked in Bristol. I will never find it.
Did the number plate just say 90s?
No, it's... See if I can find it.
I hope it was an old Audi because otherwise there'd be outrage.
Well, they go, what are you doing in that incredibly futuristic car?
What's this flying machine that you parked in?
Here we go, yeah. It's from a long-time listener on Patreon called Andy.
Hey, Andy.
He said, I thought you might have seen this plate spotted in Leafy, Clifton on a recent trip to Bristol. I can only assume they finally had to trade in their 90s RS2. So it's an RS4 or is it a 6? I honestly can't tell. It's an RS4. And the number plate is Bristol.
Oh, wow.
BR15 TDL. So it's not actually. It's
but if
Bristol.
If you were following from 20 feet away, that's just Bristol.
When I first opened this email, I just thought it said Bristol. I had to look closer to figure out how they'd done it. But yeah. And it's parked in Bristol. They've done some very good parking here, I notice. Because the front overhang is over the double yellows, but the front wheel is just behind the end of it. Now that...
Do you know, my favourite vehicle for doing that with, I used to have an Oldsmobile Cutlass. a 1970, so you know what I'm going to say. I used to have a 1977 Olds Cutlass, which was in butterscotch metallic with an absolute dog sick interior. And I used to park it in our local town, and the wheelbase was obviously a certain length, but the actual car was almost double the wheelbase. The boot would almost entirely cover someone's drive.
Oh God, yeah.
But the wheels were legal tender. Yeah. So
my wheelbase is legal. Leave me alone.
And don't get me wrong, I didn't intentionally ruin everybody's access to their houses or shops, but it was one of those cars where you're like, well, it is legit. It's just the boot is 7 feet long.
Yeah.
I miss that car.
I'm trying to think. What is the most overhangy car that's ever been sold in Britain?
In Britain?
Yeah, because obviously in the US you've got
Oldsmobiles
like that, and those 70s Lincolns.
Yeah.
Where they couldn't be asked to update the frame.
No.
But they wanted to match Cadillac or whoever with the length. So they just stuck extra overhang on them, and they're ridiculous.
You open the bonnet and there's 2 feet of sort of the carcasses for the lights, and the cooling, the rad frame. But then you can't actually really touch the engine. You need you need to hang off an engine hoist. You know, like the Mission Impossible scene where he comes down from the ceiling with special glasses on and a penknife.
Engine crane you over your
You need to be hanging over the engine.
Just want to dip the oil.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Abseiling, engine check.
But why didn't Ford install a sort of liner in that and market it as like hood store?
Oh, yeah.
The only full-size car with a trunk under the hood.
I'd love that.
Because they could have done.
Yeah.
I mean, things would have got a bit hot, I presume. But
if it was the 70s, there'd be a sunken lounge. I'm a big fan of a sunken lounge. I don't go on Pinterest very often, but when I do, I predominantly look up 2 things. 3 things. 1, Japanese gardens.
Yeah.
And 2, sunken lounges from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, they are good, aren't they?
So cool.
Did that beautiful mid-century modern house that we got sent by a listener a few weeks ago, I think that had a sunken...
I think it had a sunken 3-piece. If you're wondering what we're talking about, it's basically you walk down into the seating area within the lounge space.
Sort of like having a little amphitheatre that you sit down in.
Yeah, 70s.
Carpeted steps all the way around, usually. Or sometimes not. Sometimes steps cut in, I suppose, and then sunken. But in fact, in some ways, that's probably easier because then you can put the sofas up against the
Yeah.
The sides of a sitting pit.
It's like a totally dry jacuzzi.
Yeah, but bigger as well.
But with a 3-piece suite in it.
It's just something very luxurious about it.
I love
can't
it.
explain why. Because
No. It's a nest. It's the nest effect.
But then there must be houses here and in the US where they had one of those sunken sitting room type things, and then fashion moved on. So did they? What do? You can't fill it in.
Board over it.
Board over it, or
Turn it into
the
a wine
edges off.
cellar.
I'm just trying to work out how you do. I suppose it depends. But if the sides are built up, you could just take the sides down, and then everything becomes the level of the lower bit. Well, maybe if the ceiling's high enough, you could board it over.
If you think about it, back then, in the 60s and 70s, it was popular to have a raised bath. So you walked up into the bath. The bath was on a plinth.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes accessible from all around, from the entire diameter.
Yeah.
And because I've experienced those before. And then you got a sunken lounge. So they wanted the lounge down low, but the bath up high. The typography of the house is all over the shop.
As Seinfeld fans would probably know, levels. Experimenting with levels.
Yeah.
But then, when did the sunken bath come in?
Sunken bath, good question. Because I think the old school standalone bath, like the tin bath Victorian spec. But the sunken, I think that's around the time of the infinity pool.
I think of the sunken bath as quite 80s. Would it not have been a bit 80s?
It could have been, couldn't it?
Sort of sunken baths, but also just generally unusually shaped baths.
Yeah.
And B-days as well becoming a thing.
Yeah,
Does anyone have a B-day still in this country?
It was an 80s thing, because 80s wealthy parents whose houses I would sometimes go to as a kid, you'd always marvel at the fact there was either Jack and Jill sinks, and you were like,
oh yeah,
basins. You were going, what? So you could brush your teeth while someone else is brushing their teeth. That's amazing. You could do toothbrushing drag racing.
That's still, to me, is it's a very small piece of luxury that.
Yeah.
To have one of those.
Yeah.
Like, so you ever stay in a fancy hotel and they've got it?
Love it.
Come on, get here. Let's brush our teeth at the same time.
Love it.
Is this foreplay? No, I just want to brush our teeth at the same time. Practical, but also
do it.
Yeah, it's I'd love to have double sinks.
You've reminded me of strange shaped baths. Just before Christmas, as I was actually driving home for Christmas, I encountered an Alfa Romeo Giulietta.
Yeah,
a modern one, and it had those ribbon LED lights that you get from almost anywhere now.
Yeah,
and you can put it around the top of your room, around the base of your room, wherever. Someone had done it around the slightly Lady Garden shaped grille on an Alfa Romeo.
Interesting.
Yeah, and from a distance I couldn't tell what the hell this thing was.
Yeah.
And I realised it was an Alfa Giulietta.
I saw a couple of cars done out like that, where they just sort of tucked the lights seemingly into the bonnet shut line.
Yeah.
And it doesn't quite work.
It looks like someone's left an inspection lamp on there when they've had a service.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It was all right. It was an interesting effect, but then there's a lot of cars that have a central bar lit up anyway now with VWs and things.
Yeah.
Also, I was on the motorway the other night and passed a brand new VW Touareg, and that now seems to be, since it's had a facelift, has a sort of heck blend backlight that links with a red stripe, which I think it's always had in that iteration. But now the VW badge in the middle is a red light.
Oh,
with the VW, the lines of the VW logo picked out. It's not solid. It's like quite delicate.
I saw not a Seat. What's the superhero version of the Seat?
A Cupra.
A Cupra. I saw a Cupra with the same thing. Must be a new model year thing.
Oh, so somebody's come to them from Vallejo or somewhere and gone, we can make lights really thin now.
Yeah.
Any interest in fact, look, opens his briefcase. Look what we've just
like in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, it is. Look, it's the whole VW group all lit up, and they go, yeah, we'll have a bit of that. Yeah, go on, name your price. We think that's pretty cool.
VAG.
The problem with the Touareg, I noticed, is that then at the back, and I was kind of, because the first time I'd seen it, I was kind of a bit like, it's quite fancy that. And, but then as I passed it, I looked in the mirror. But of course, in this country, it's illegal to have the manufacturer's logo lit up when the car's on the move. And so you've got the same monobrow of light at the front, except it's broken at night by this black circle where the VW badge is, because
Yeah.
It doesn't light up, and it's a bit disappointing.
Does it light up in other markets? I think it does, doesn't it?
I reckon it probably does.
I think in America they're allowed.
Yeah, because you remember last year, maybe, or the year before, Rolls-Royce had to recall some cars because they'd accidentally sold them in the UK with the light-up Spirit of Ecstasy that stayed lit on the move, and that's illegal here.
Right.
For reasons I still don't understand.
Yeah, because as long as it's not like really piercing light.
Yeah.
I quite like an illuminated Lady Ecstasy.
But it was... I thought I read somewhere that it was supposed to be because they didn't want it sort of being confused with the actual lights of the car, but it's not going to.
You just need to be seen, full stop, right?
Yeah, because weirdly, I discovered when we had our Jag I-Pace, you could have, as a dealer fit accessory, you could have a light-up Jag badge on the front grille.
Could you?
Faux grille, yeah, on the I-Pace.
Nice.
But it only lit up when the car, like I suppose when you walked up to it and unlocked it and the headlights come on,
Yeah.
the badge would come on as well, but when you drove off, it would switch off.
I wonder if now you could, a couple of years old one with that option, whether you could hack it so that it stayed on with the DRLs.
I bet you could.
I'm sure someone listening, we know people that are in the industry. I wonder if they
It's
could.
probably a coding job, though, isn't it? Because if it's legal in other countries, it'll just be a line of code somewhere.
Yeah,
Badge illuminate. Tick.
I'd be down with that. I'd be down with. Oh, there was something else that I saw. I've written it down. So I did my usual Christmas walk around the village after lots of food. In fact, I did about 8 walks around the village. But
we were talking. I'm not going to name any names, but we had some people over to our place on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
And one of our friends admitted that she had so much food, she had to go for a lie down. And then she realised that the real solution to her problems was just to be sick.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Actually sick on Christmas Day because...
In the toilet or in the front room?
No, in the loo. And then just came back downstairs and went, I feel better now.
Wow.
Let's carry on with Christmas Day.
Hang on, that's like Roman banqueting.
Exactly, that's what I was saying to her husband. I was like, what is this Roman Christmas at your house? Because it's like... But yeah, she wasn't embarrassed about it. Well, she was kind of, but she was a bit like, look, it's a story that must be told. I ate so much yesterday, just got so giddy on the food that I was a bit sick.
I tend to chunder in the garden because then I don't have to clear it up, and at night the animals come out and consume it. I'm just thinking about recycling.
Well, you could do. I mean, for context, by the way, we're in the same room for once, and we're at my house, and so
I've popped over.
If you want to puke in my garden, the badgers can have access.
Yeah, you've got a little CCTV in your garden. Should I chunder by the night camera? Now you can see it. You can watch it all tomorrow morning over breakfast.
I suppose it would then attract the creatures, and my kids would love that because they love seeing the
cut the bit out where
camera.
that guy that's come and stayed round has just bathed in the garden, if you could, if that's okay.
Or I'll just play the clip backwards to them. I go, look, Johnny's clearing up sick from our garden.
Yes, I've got a leaf sucker instead of a leaf blower, but I've just sucked up some other stuff as well.
Anyway, so you went for a walk around the village after Christmas. Was this on Christmas Day?
Yeah, I did a Christmas Day. I did a Boxing Day one, and I did an Eve one. It was mystical and misty. On Boxing Day.
Good and misty over the break.
And I noticed there was a car which I think is an absolutely appalling looking new car. It's a BMW iX2. It really is a mess.
Yeah.
But when the lights are on and stuff at the back, if you stare at it too long, it's like if you stare at a word for too long, you can't work out whether it's right or not.
So I completely lost track. English?
I stayed staring at the iX2 for a while, and I realised it looks just like the face of a 1960s robot. Like a sci-fi film robot face.
Okay.
That's what.
Sorry, I was just going to look up because I think I can picture that car in my mind, but equally I think my brain has blotted it out. Oh God, yeah, it's that one. It's horrible.
It's a 60s robot.
It's bloody awful.
It is a grim.
It's an especially terrible car.
But also in terms of packaging, I think it's bad because it's so fast-backed. I've got a beef about it. It's probably not got a big boot. It's a high car. It's an ugly car. I don't think it's aspirational to anybody who's
it's weird, isn't it? But then,
where are we going with this?
No matter how much we complain about BMW design, they are sort of selling more cars than ever, and you just go,
what's
to
that?
Who?
I don't know.
And why?
To people who need to lose money fast somehow.
Well, but they're still presumably a lot of them are on finance, aren't they?
Yeah.
So really, but then, and that's the thing. I suppose the monthlies can't be too catastrophic because then that would mean that they are heavily depreciating cars.
The monthlies.
Yeah, the monthlies.
I love that.
Like a car trader.
The monthlies.
The monthlies. No, that's horrible.
So
looking forward to those Neue class cars, see if they can sort of sort out BMW design.
Yeah, I'm excited about those, I have to say. Christmas time is a time when you see family and friends and people that you generally care about more than others, hopefully. But it's also a time when some people make the mistake of buying vehicles that they just don't need.
What have you done?
I have bought another car. But,
have you?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, because it seemed like a practical idea at the time. Hang
on. I'm trying to think. What have you sent me in the last couple of weeks?
Don't get excited.
Is it something you sent to me?
Actually, no. I didn't have time.
Oh, you sent me that 911. No, I'm not saying you bought that. I'm assuming you haven't bought that. But that was a keen price on that car. Almost too keen. I was a bit like...
Yeah, it was good.
What's wrong with it?
I've bought a car that's the same as a car that I've currently have because I worked out that there's some key parts that I need for the car, and it's just easier to buy another.
Oh.
And swap parts over and then perhaps sell it on again.
Is this... Hang on a minute. If you're swapping the parts over, then you... Which parts?
Well, the ones that are better. And then you choose which one you're going to keep and then you sell another.
I
bought another Brabus Smart.
Have you?
Yeah. I got a deal.
Oh.
And I was like, well...
Can't be as good as the deal you got on the first one.
Well, it's keen.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah, like pre-Christmas, clear the decks.
Wow.
Yeah, with boughs of holly and all that. But I said did I say I said bowls? Bowls of holly.
Boughs of holly.
Yeah, not bowels.
Boughs.
I nearly said bowels. No, it's bough. It's a branch, and the word for branch, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. So again, I've forgotten.
With branches of holly.
Yeah.
And all that.
Good. Wow.
So yeah, I am captain 2 Brabus Smarts.
Where is it?
Hampshire.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nowhere near me.
But it's not. I thought you were going to say Aberdeen or something.
No, it's not Aberdeen.
Inconvenience. Are you just going to have somebody trailer it to you?
I'm going to organise to have it transported. Yeah. And then I'm going to put them next to one another and go, that bit's better than that bit, swap.
Yeah.
That bit's better than that bit, swap.
What colour's the one you've bought?
It's silver, the same as
mine.
So I can even swap wings, bumpers.
Yeah.
I probably put apostrophes next to all those things when I put them up for sale.
Oh, well, no, hang on. If you're selling it, apostrophes, yes, but also do put bumbers.
Oh, bumber.
We all love it.
We all love an unscratched bumber.
Colour-coded bumbers.
Bumber?
I never understand that. Like, at what point did you... It's not said bumbers.
No, it's not bumbers.
But I'm not alone here. It's like this is a common misspelling. And
Bumber.
It's like bumpers. There's a P in it. You can hear the P. There is no British accent I can think of that drops P's out of words like that.
I don't think so.
I mean, Cockney maybe, but then it'd be bummer, and it's not that.
It's not a bummer, no.
No. Mate, you've got cacao bummers on that.
Colour-coded bummers?
Bummers?
No.
Bumbers. It's not pronounced like that, Dave.
Well, you've got a Bentley on the drive.
Yes.
And that's a commonly misspelt name when you're looking for them on classified ads and stuff.
Bentleys?
Yeah, normally they miss the E out at the end.
Oh, yeah.
So it's L-Y.
Yeah, I've seen
Bentley.
Yeah, Bentley. Oh.
And
what's that Eastern European one? Was she Russian? I can't remember.
Oh, Bentley.
With a couple of J's in it somewhere.
She's become infamous, hasn't she?
I didn't realise until recently she's done loads of other cars as well.
I didn't know that.
Mercedes. I don't know what else.
FSO.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'd actually like to see that. Particularly if she was still very elegantly dressed, but the car was an absolute shit.
Her jewellery would have been way more expensive than all of the car. Yeah.
I have got a Bentley. This is the Bentley PR chap. Hello, Mike. He
SSG by all accounts.
who I know listens to this. I don't think he doesn't like the thought of his press fleet sitting all lonely and cold up at the Crewe factory over Christmas. So he distributes them like expensive sweets to
like
people.
Santa delivering presents,
like a lovely Santa. but in a tweed cap, to members of the media, and he went, "Would you like to borrow a Bentayga?" And I went, "Yeah, okay." So I got a couple of long drives to do over Christmas, and I thought, why not? So I did. And it's a Bentayga V8S, which I'd not driven before.
No.
In orange.
It's a great colour, actually.
Remember, it's funny, I'm not massively into it. My wife absolutely loves it.
What, the car or the colour or both?
The colour.
Does she?
Yeah, she particularly loves the colour. Like, she really likes the colour. And when we had friends over on Boxing Day, it was parked on the drive, and the general consensus was everyone who came out to our house loved the colour, which surprised me.
That's good.
It's quite sudden. Now,
I like that. I'm glad.
Someone else from Bentley, in fact, a more senior person, the head of comms,
Bentley.
sent round a little note. It's called Orange Flame Satin.
Yeah, of course it is satin.
And he sent me a note just to say, if you've got any questions, give us a shout. But he said the process to make that paint, because it's slightly satin, it's not mega matte, it's just a little bit.
Yeah, I like it. Slightly frosted.
Yeah, it is, because it's way more tasteful than those sort of mega frosted ones. And I actually quite like a sort of satin paint.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down with it.
So, do you know how long it takes to get that paint finish on that car?
Well, because it's Bentley and it's a low volume car, I should think they put some layers on.
I'm assuming it's done by hand. They won't just, because they don't really have many robots up at Crew, do they? It's all hand stuff. So, hand stuff.
No, they use BMW iX2s to build them. Yeah, because they all look like robots.
It takes 55 hours to do the paint.
Shiitake mushrooms.
I know, it's a lot, isn't it? Because it gets painted as a gloss car.
Yeah.
And then sanded to achieve the satin finish.
So they must put a lot of layers on.
And imagine, because it's not just the sanding, is it? You've got to consistently sand it, otherwise you'll get kind of hot spots and inconsistency. So that's labour intensive. Yeah.
Wow. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, well,
not all 55 hours. No.
Everyone's coming in for work in the morning. Is he still here?
Yes.
Yeah, he's just curled up like a dormouse in the corner. He says, "Wake him when you start sanding again." No, it's a remarkable thing. I don't know. I did a long motorway work, if you like.
Yes.
To go and fetch another car that I'll talk about in a minute. But I've not driven a Bentayga since when they first came out. The W12, and of course that's gone now. So this is the V8S, which is plenty much poke. Yeah. And as you noticed when you fetched up here and I started it to move it, it sounds like a bloody muscle car when it starts up. It's really V80.
It's a hell of a sound. I think if you closed your eyes and you struck that up like you did, I would have thought definitely American. It could have been a Dodge, or it could have been an AMG, like old school AMG, not modern school. Yeah,
it's got a bit more velvet to it, I think, than an AMG. Although it's also quite gravelly at first, and then it sort of settles down. But it definitely
it's got a lump to it.
It's lumpy.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
It's great. It sounds amazing.
I hadn't noticed until the other day when I got in it, started it, and then my daughter needed help with her seatbelt. And I got back out and went, bloody hell, because obviously it's like double glazed and stuff. So you don't hear inside. You don't hear much of it. But yeah, it was like shit. The neighbours have been hearing me do that for like a week or so now, and I didn't even notice. But it's a strange car, though, because the thing is, it's like, so the last Bentley I drove was a Flying Spur W12, one of the last line ones of those, which was magnificent.
Yeah.
And I think the last time before that I drove a Bentley was a Mulsanne. Oh, and also those ones we drove at the festival, the members meeting, Goodwood members meeting.
Yeah.
Which was a Brooklands.
Yeah, the Brooklands.
What did I drive? An Arnage.
Yeah,
all magnificent.
Arnage T or
all absolutely just
cathedral vehicles.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, this is it. It slightly annoys me. Car journalists are very prone to describing cars as special.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so special, and it has a certain specialness. I understand what it means, and I've been guilty of saying it myself. But at the same time, it slightly annoys me because it's not very descriptive.
No,
it's a bit of a nebulous idea. So forgive me, but I sort of feel like compared to the Mulsanne and the Flying Spur, the Bentayga is somehow less special. And I think it's down to the column stalks.
Oh.
It has, I think they're shared with other things in the bigger VW group.
It doesn't have the. Does it have the knurled ends? No knurls.
No, not even nearly knurled.
No knurling, mate.
No, not even knurly. They are just regular plastic, irregular shaped stalks.
Interesting.
And the flying spur, those tubular things, and also they pivot from the actual bit where it goes into the steering column shroud.
Yeah.
Is way down lower.
Yeah.
So they've got this huge sort of ear on them, or this sort of diagonal bit, and then you're cylindrical with your knurling on the end.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sorry to say this, there's something rather special about that, because no other car has that.
No.
And obviously the Mulsanne has something similar.
The
And
feeling of the
Bentayga
stalk
doesn't.
is important when you're paying that kind of dollar.
I think so.
Yeah.
And also, the door fits are good, but they don't have that real thud to them.
Right.
That the Flying Spur has and the Mulsanne really has.
Yeah.
They're just sort of okay. This one's got soft closed doors, and I always think soft closed doors sometimes take some of the thing out. I suppose you're meant to just sort of gently push it home, but if you forget, because
Yeah.
it's not your car,
Yeah.
because you're some prick who's just borrowed it, you slam them shut and they don't make an especially amazing noise.
Yeah.
And just, it's those things, those little almost subconscious things. Maybe that's why it doesn't have that sort of sense of this is worth every single pound that it costs.
Soft closed boots, when you remember that they're soft closed, so you press them home and then they suck themselves
Yes.
in. It reminds me of when you've probably eaten too much Christmas meal spec and you do a burp that you have to instantly EGR. You've got to you've got to just straight away, because you're in a polite company. There's no way that's coming out.
Yeah.
And it's got to immediately go back into the system. Back in. It's like, it's anti-smog, isn't it? Don't let it out.
Yeah.
Swallow that back in.
Yeah.
And that will come out another day.
You know that problem that affects Mark III MR2s where they have that, but then the pre-cats or the cats just after the sort of are on the exhaust manifold, I think, start to break up, but then because it's got EGR, it sucks in bits of its own cats and kills the engine.
Oh gosh.
And it's a big problem with those cars, which is one thing that puts me off them. Otherwise, I definitely have one of those.
Yeah.
Excuses.
Cat sucking.
Cat sucking. But it's that, because you don't want to do that where you immediately EGR it and then realise it was a bit more
solid
than you thought, and now you just feel like you might be going into full
dieseling. You're dieseling because there is a bit of liquid there, but you've got to stay polite.
Anyway, Bentley Bentayga V8S is a very nice car, but it's just, I don't think it hasn't made me fall in love the way that the Flying Spur and the Mulsanne did, but that's maybe just me, and also because I'm not as wowed by the orange paint as seemingly everybody else. But one day we'll go and watch them doing it for 55 hours.
Shall we?
Right, that'd be quite interesting.
I said about the rear end of the iX2 looking like a 60s robot.
Yeah.
Well, when you were reversing the Bentayga up the drive, and I was really enamoured by the exhaust sound, I noticed that those oval rear lights, which are similar to the Conti GT and many others now, as it was coming towards me, it really reminded me of one of the fighting helmets in the first Gladiator film.
Oh,
there's a fighting helmet of one of the people who's fighting the Gladiator, and I actually can't remember who it was, but it's like a Mercury Man looking helmet.
Okay.
And it looks like it's got eyes shaped like the back end of the Bentayga.
I can't picture it, but
yeah, it's a Mercury. I'll dig it out because I loved the film Gladiator, but I haven't seen the second one. So
have you not?
Don't spoil it for me.
No, I haven't seen it either.
If there's any amazing chariot chases or anything like that.
I was a friend of ours who works in TV said the other day, she went, I'll never watch the second series of anything.
Really?
Yeah, she was just like, just move on, see what they've got to say in the first series, and then it was like,
wow.
But what if it's really good?
Hopefully they're not commissioning editors.
No, they're not. But I have the same feeling about Gladiator 2.
Yeah, I'm worried.
It's like,
I'm worried.
And should I just, no, maybe not, don't want to.
The thing is the original Gladiator, which obviously doesn't feature any cars in it, is such a tearjerker of a film every damn time.
No, there's a Vauxhall Tiger in it about halfway through.
No way. Was it in a National Trust car
Hell of
park?
a continuity mistake.
I'd love that if they were filming that. You know that bit where they rushed the Vikings in those woods,
Yeah.
and there was an abandoned Fiat Tipo that had to throw a camo rug over it.
The
Just get rid of
charred
this.
shell of an Astra in the trees.
It was a joy-ridden. Oh,
Hang
shit.
on, there is a movie, and it's a movie with chariot racing in it, and it's an old film. What would it be?
But is there like
I think there's like a
Ford
sort of-
Thames van just
No,
parked?
there's like a high shot of the chariot race, and in the back of shot, you can see a car driving.
Oh shit!
Listeners will know what I'm talking about here. I don't think I imagined it. But yeah, the shot is basically a bit too wide, and you can see like a road in the background. It's just a car driving along, like some big American road yacht.
I love that. That's brilliant. So when I haven't been buying cars that I don't need, there's
But you
one.
do need it.
Well, I sort of need it,
There you go.
and I don't class it as a full car purchase because it's probably a donut.
Because it's a spare.
It's a spare.
Yeah.
So
You
it's
should probably
practical.
buy 3, because anyone who watches I Think You Should Leave will know the brilliant sketch with Bob Odenkirk. The triples are best. Triples safe.
Well, there's a vehicle. I don't think we've ever talked about it on Smith and Stiff ever, but I can't remember how I stumbled across it. But there's a DAF vehicle that was built for the postal service in Sweden
Oh,
by a company called Kalmar. DAF chassis and a body by Kalmar.
is this the one that's got a really big forehead?
He's got a massive forehead.
Okay, yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's got a big forehead.
Yeah.
It's a very stubby, silly-looking van.
Yeah.
That is right-hand drive for postal service stuff.
Like the American Postal Service Subarus.
Yes.
Same reason.
Yeah.
So you're getting out
Yeah.
curbside, yeah.
Yeah, and you can buy them. I mean, they crop up. They only sold like 2,000 of them in 5 years. They weren't massively popular, and they're called the Tjorven, Tjorven. That's their Swedish nickname, the Tjorven.
What does that mean?
I can't remember. It's probably cartoony van.
Forehead van.
But I've become fixated with them, and I really fancy one. I feel like maybe it should be. You would probably not buy it over a K van, but it's a very cool looking van to me. DAF Kalmar Tjorven.
Tjorven.
Yeah.
Do
So
you know what that means in Swedish?
No.
The bull.
the bull.
Well, according to Google Translate,
Well, I'd like a DAF
we do have
Kalmar.
Swedish listeners, and
And they're all cool.
yeah. So if they want to get in touch and let us know, hello@smithandsniff.com.
And if you've got an immaculate one in your uncle's back garden, and you're going to try and sell it to me for €600, don't you dare. How dare you?
Why did the Swedish Postal Service go with DAF underparts? Not, I suppose, do they want something small and light and economical?
That's just a really good point. I don't know.
There's no reason why not. I just thought,
we need to look this up more. I've only found it in. It was my Boxing Day. One of my Boxing Day important missions. Find out more about the Kalmar DAF Tjorven.
This just in, beg your pardon. Tjorven was the nickname given to the Kalmar as its frumpy but sympathetic appearance was reminiscent of a contemporary Swedish television character of that name.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
the character was called the Bull.
So so it wasn't necessarily Anne Bull.
No, we're just live researching again.
We are. We're good at that.
That's okay. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Oh, now, actually, sorry. I feel like I crap on about K cars a lot at the moment.
But I'm interested, so I'll allow you.
Well, over the Christmas break, there was some excellent K news,
Oh shit!
which I now can't find, of course, because
Have you bought?
It's
Have you bought
disappeared.
6?
No, it's not personal K news. This
Okay.
is something that's being revealed at the Tokyo Motor Show. Which,
Can I have a look?
hang
I'm
on,
gonna have a look.
hang on. I'm going to find out when. Probably this week, isn't it? Tokyo Auto Salon. When's that happening? It's got to be soon.
It's normally November, isn't it?
Oh,
Or is it?
no, it's this week. I think it starts this week. So anyway, it's Daihatsu. I'll show you.
The king of K people carriers.
For the purpose of the tape, I'm going to turn my computer to show this to Johnny. This is a concept car officially. It's a Daihatsu Myra.
Yes.
So they're little hatchback. But it's been spacked up by Gursport, Toyota's.
Cornish pirate division.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have... So apparently the standard Mario in Japan doesn't have a turbo on it. So it's usual sort of 660cc 3-cylinder.
Yeah.
So Gursport's put a turbo on it. It's got a 5-speed manual. And
Nice.
they've done some things to the chassis and given it new bumpers and some quite retro, I think, BBS alloys, but attractive. Inspired. A lot of it is inspired by a rally car that they made, which competed in 2024. So, I mean, this looks production ready, so I assume it is just going to production. There's no way a concept car because it looks too finished unless it's just a red herring. But yeah, it looks absolutely amazing, and it's a manual. It's called the Daihatsu Miura E:(S Turbo concept.
Nice.
But I just looked at it and went,
Yeah.
that would be great.
It
The
looks
odds
like,
of that not being great are so small, surely.
it looks like the Suzuki Alto Works Turbo,
Yes.
or whatever it's called.
Yes. You
And
sent me a picture of one of those over Christmas.
it's a sexy little thing, isn't it? It's a naughty rat.
Yeah, we'll
I
talk
do-
about that afterwards.
Yes, we will.
Now, I was going to say, so I mentioned the Bentayga. The other car that I've driven since we were last recording, is the new Renault 5, which I borrowed for a weekend because they've got, I don't know how many French registered examples in the UK at the moment, but a few.
They're doing the rounds.
Yeah, and that's it. But they're lending them out only for a few days, and because it's in demand, unsurprisingly. And the email that said, "Yeah, you can borrow one from here to here," then basically said, "Do not crash it.
No.
We have no spare parts. Please do not crash it."
Yeah.
So I was very conscious of it. The worst thing is when someone says, "Do not crash it." All your brain can do is just don't crash it. Don't crash it. Don't just drive into that wall for no reason, you prick.
No.
And so I didn't. It's good. It went back unscathed. But it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
a
good.
jolly little thing. I mean, I don't think it's perfect, but I think the design is excellent and makes it, sort of lifts it to be about 50% more interesting than it would be if it was just a very plain looking little...
I agree. But also it's practical. Like, as you know.
Well...
The boot,
yes,
the boot's
no.
massive.
The boot is massive. The boot is too massive for me. I don't need that bigger boot on a little sort of city car, but I'd like more rear legroom. I genuinely couldn't put my daughter behind me if I had my driving position where I'd like it.
Your daughter, she's tiny.
Yeah, she's 7, so she's not that big. I mean, I could force it, but that's the thing. I would say that there is... I mean, there's millimetres in it, but this all counts when you're trying to get little people into the back seat of a car. There's a bit more room in the back of our E-Up when I have the seat set how I'd like it.
Yeah.
Which is, the E-Up is smaller than the 5.
Yeah.
The 5's not massive.
No.
It's, I looked this up. In fact, I've written it down.
Well,
it's shorter than a Clio.
I reviewed the bastard thing. I should know all the dimensions, but
It's 131 millimetres shorter than a Clio.
okay.
So that's, almost, it's getting close to 6 inches for people who are talking old.
Yeah.
And it's also shorter than the Zoe.
Yes, it is.
Which is amazing, because the Zoe, I always think of as not a big car.
No. It's a taller car. It's got a higher head. But
Yeah. The 5 is, now weirdly, the 5's body is narrower than a Clio's and a Zoe's.
Is it?
But overall, it's wider because of the mirrors.
Right, okay.
So the mirror-to-mirror dimensions on the 5 are a bit greater than that on the Clio or the Zoe. But yeah, if you take the mirrors off, bodily, it's fractionally narrower. But I mean, there's almost nothing in it. We're talking a few mil. But
Did you have a green one or a yellow one?
Greenwell.
With the denim interior?
Yes.
Did you like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love the interior.
It's both
Those
colours are
fabrics
great.
and the recycled sort of faux denim, isn't it? Really nice. And the
It is.
headlining with the knobbles on it and stuff.
It's just good.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's the thing. It's just, it feels like... And do you know that I only realised the full backstory of that car is that when the new boss of Renault started, one of the first things he did was say, right, get everything that we're working on together. I want to have a look at it.
Yeah.
So he did a big presentation in the design studio with all the sort of live projects. The 5 wasn't one of them. And he looked at these cars and there was a sort of saloon and SUV and stuff. And he was a bit like,
No.
this is all a bit drab.
Yeah.
Possibly deliberately, the design staff had left the full-size model for the 5, which they created as just a little sort of thought exercise, somewhere where he would see it while he was in the building. And of course he went, what's that? Yeah. And they went, oh, it's something we tried. It went before the board. They said, we don't want to go retro. And he went, no, we do.
Wow.
Make that car.
So good.
And it was bright orange as well. You know, like most styling models are silver because they don't want colour to sort of cloud the judgment of the actual design. but the 5 that they got there accidentally on display in the design studio was bright orange.
Brilliant.
So it was really attention grabbing. But obviously it's the kind of car that suits bright orange, bright yellow, bright green, because it's just cut slightly 70s.
Yeah.
And he just went, make it. So then they had to, which is why that platform is a sort of mixture of other bits.
Yeah.
So it's technically a new platform, because engineering had to bend to the will of design and to ensure the car looked exactly or near as as it did in that design studio model, which is why I think maybe the back seat room is... I mentioned this on social media, and someone said that probably one of the reasons why the back seat is further forward, so it has a big boot but a small back seat room, is because it's got big wheel arches.
It does have very big
because
wheel
it's got 18s on it.
Yeah.
And something else I noticed while researching, because I've reviewed it for the Sunday Times, so I was researching some of the background to the car. The base model here has alloys. All 3 trim levels in the UK have alloys. In France, the base model has trims, but they're still 18s. And they're really good looking as well. They're called Disco. The name of the trims is Disco.
Disco
they're
trims.
Really good looking. They look a little bit... I thought they looked maybe inspired by like the alloys on the 5 Turbo 2.
Yeah.
And then someone else on Twitter pointed out that they also look a bit like the alloys on the original Clio 16 valve.
Oh, yeah.
Either way, very attractive wheels, and they're reminiscent. They've got a sort of turbine-y kind of effect. I'll put a picture of the Patreon for people, but yeah, really nice trims. And I was like, why does the UK car not have? I think because obviously product planning in the UK has gone, no, British customers think alloys are a
we're luxury snobs.
Yeah,
That's great though. You could get it on trims.
But it's amazing that even so, there's trims, but there's steelies. That even the steelies are big steelies, because clearly the designers ran the show on this car, and they went, no, we want to do this, we want to do that, and no, we don't want just the seats out of a Clio.
Yeah,
we want seats that look like the old seats from a turbo, like a 5 Turbo and stuff, and the denim upholstery and all the rest of it.
And to use your word that you were referring to earlier, special.
Well, yeah, sorry to do it again, but that's the thing, it is quite special.
It is special.
Now, one weird thing though, because I was sort of sizing this up and going, I wonder if we could get one of these as a replacement for our E-Up, and the rear legroom thing is a problem, but it's... Other things about it are very attractive, the design and the price, frankly.
Yeah.
And but I said to my wife, what do you think of that car? And she went, it's a bit boy racer for me.
Oh.
What, really? And she was like, yeah, it was quite... I think it's partly the colour, but she was like, it's also very... And I looked at it,
in your face.
Like, hadn't occurred to me. But she's sort of right, because it's quite butch.
Yeah.
And it's got, the big wheels.
It's stocky.
The sills on it are quite pronounced. It is actually
those
quite...
box arches.
So I wonder if she would think the same if she saw a black one or a dark blue one or something.
What I don't get is, and we are in danger of being carry. I will talk I'll talk about some nonsense in a minute about cheeseboards. But the Alpine version is the A290, which has got more power and it's more money and it's got more Renault sporty suspension. But now they've just released that they're going to do a Renault 5 Turbo.
It's confusing, though, isn't it?
And I immediately WhatsApped Renault UK PR and went, I don't understand why you're doing this, because the whole point of Alpine is that it's flagship, and you've sort of like trumped yourself. Yeah. Why would you do that? And he's gone, oh, well, it's a good question. And then there was a pause.
Sorry, you're breaking up. It's funny enough, who was it? I didn't know about that 5 Turbo. And the day the news broke, who was I with? They said, oh, look, Renault doing a 5 Turbo, and showed it on my phone. Yeah. And I went, oh, that's just a rendering. They'd never do that, because it would tread on the toes of Alpine. And they went, oh, yeah, I suppose you're right. And then I got home, looked at my laptop and went, oh, fuck. This is real. I thought this was something someone had just made up.
Yeah.
But
I'm worried that it's better than the Alpine, which means the Alpine will wither and die.
Well, no, but this, as I understand it, this is going to be something way above the Alpine. It's going to be like a very limited run, mega performance thing, and it's a totally different body.
Yeah.
I think the screen angle is the same as the regular 5, but otherwise...
Is it like short wheelbase Quattro territory?
I suppose so. Or like the Turbo 2.
Or Turbo 2.
Yeah, where it's like, it shares a few bits and pieces, but it's fundamentally a different car.
Yeah, and the V6 Clio, I guess, was...
Is this why that 5 has that multi-link rear axle all along? Because we were going, oh, they'll do a 4-wheel drive one. But no, rear-wheel drive one. That's what they're going to be.
I mean, look, whatever happens, it's bloody interesting. In a world where there's not a lot of interesting cars of that genre and price point and physical size.
Yeah.
But
anyway, cheeseboards.
Cheese. So Look, guys, it's Christmas, and I just want to talk about the fact that aged cheese is apparently something which is attractive.
Yeah.
And you wheel out a cheeseboard. I've been sat behind one for a few days, and there's blue ones and there's seeping ones, and it smells pretty bad.
Yeah.
But yet it's seen as being not just expensive and posh, but it's a thing to do. It's a ceremonious thing to do. I'm not convinced.
Okay.
Because if you were to do that in the car world, I don't think it would work. Well, why are we accepting it in the cheese world?
I've got this old Audi, but I've deliberately let it go rusty because that's better.
Well, or do you know what so what I do is when I park it for a week at a time, I always leave one window down.
It's getting good and moist now. Yeah,
there's there's some
stinky.
must there.
Yeah.
There's some must there. It smells like a gym bag you've totally forgotten about.
I mean, I love a stinky cheese.
Do you?
Yeah, like a soft, smelly cheese that you leave at room temperature for a bit to get really nice and sweaty. I love that.
Like
so I'm going to say, I don't think cheese and cars are strictly comparable.
Don't you?
No, because of various things. Yes, I take your point. It would be weird to do that to a car, but a cheese, it seems acceptable to let it essentially go off a bit more.
There's a lot of Christmas foodstuffs that I'm down with. I'm afraid that's not one of them. But there's also, we have talked about other Christmas songs this year and other years. I've got to bring up the confusion and almost borderline anger now, because I've heard it a few times, is the lyrics "Giddy Up Jingle Horse."
Oh, yes.
That I did WhatsApp you and say, seriously, what's going on?
But that was so weird that you WhatsApp me. Where was that on Boxing Day?
I'm going to find. I think it was.
Day.
I think it was Christmas Day.
And I heard that song because we'd had Christmas music on in the morning while we were, unwrapping presents and things,
doing stuff.
And it had struck me all of a sudden that Jingle Horse sounds like the name you might give to like an old Mark III Granada 2.8. No, Mark II, sorry, a Mark II Granada 2.8i.
Giddy up. By the way, this is Jingle Bell Rock by, it's one of the lyrics in Jingle Bell Rock.
Yeah.
By Bobby Helms.
Yes, Helmsman.
Bobby Helmsman.
Yeah, with his Jingle Horse.
Oh, of course.
On the kick down on the V6. But yeah, I just imagine like a sort of Ray Winston style, lots of sobs, kind of Cockney gentleman just going, giddy up Jingle Horse, as he mats it over the Dartford Bridge.
You can imagine that guy, pissed East End guy, he's had a skinful on Christmas Eve, and he's trying to describe to someone what a reindeer is, but he's so pissed. He's so pissed.
He can't remember the word for reindeer.
Come on.
The fucking Santa's going to come down with all his presents. And he's so on them things. What are they called? He's with the fucking Jingle Horse. You know what I mean?
It's a jingle.
Do you mean a reindeer, Ray?
Yes,
fucking reindeer. That's it.
But it looked as fucking, Jingle Horse. It's got, reins on it with like bits on it. And
Are we sure that like, Jingle Horse isn't like the Swedish word for reindeer?
I don't know.
I know it probably isn't because but it's like it literally translates as Jingle Horse.
But I like the song, but what a bright time, it's the right time to rock the night away. Jingle Bell time is a swell time, okay, to go gliding on one horse sleigh. But then immediately coming in with the giddy up Jingle Horse.
Jingle Horse, yeah.
Pick up your feet.
It is stupid, isn't it?
I mean, come on. Giddy up Jingle Horse. And then I did have issues with that. And somebody messaged to say that that they thought the same. Someone on Instagram called Trevor. And they went, I recently heard somebody say, giddy up Jingle Horse, pick up your feet is something a homophobic PE teacher would say.
Horrible bullying 80s spec PE teacher.
Exactly.
Go, giddy up Jingle Horse.
Come on, chop, fucking chop. So, yeah, that's ruined that song for me. Hopefully not you.
Can I say something very odd that happened to me over the holiday period, which is that I suddenly, out of nowhere, went, I wonder how incredibly cheap new school Volkswagen Beetles are.
Oh, what, late 90s?
Yes,
the
2000s. I mean, they're sort of early ones, probably hundreds of pounds, aren't they, if that?
Well, do you remember when we bought the Eagle Quest? How could you forget? On that exceptionally hot day in Ipswich.
Yes.
And the guy that was selling it also had a new Beetle. He might have had two.
a young woman was coming to look at it with her dad as her learn to drive car, I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was, and that was only... It was, did you have that for £1,000 or something? I can't remember.
I think it was £1,000 or maybe 800 or 900 quid. It was cheap.
And it looked all right. But that's the thing. And I don't know why. I just suddenly went, I was like, what? Where am I going with that thought? Am I actually going to go, actually, I'll just go and buy one of those. They're much maligned. But then I suddenly was like, bloody hell. I wonder if there's any of the... Do you remember the V5 one?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any Beetle V5s for sale. Maybe that would be quite amusing.
Yeah.
There was one when I looked for sale.
Yeah.
Looked a bit iffy. But then... Very strange thing. 2 days later, I was on my way back into Bath in the bright orange Bentayga. And
also known as the Jingle horse.
the Jingle.
Yes. So that you've now...
Giddy up, Jingle horse.
Yeah.
And as I sat at some traffic lights, coming the other way, a Beetle V5. I know this because it had different lights. Do you remember the lights was the whole front
Didn't it
and
have
rear.
didn't it have little nostrils?
Yes,
It
exactly.
did have little nostril lights,
Yeah.
like a VW Up GTI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was the I think that, and then the 6-cylinder ones had the same.
Yeah.
They sort of went to some
deeper
effort.
air dam kind of front end, was it? Or the
Yeah, not quite as body kitty as the RSI,
which is rare now.
Strain injury. Yeah, I wonder if there's any of those.
That's worth money. But
Do you think?
Yeah, but I don't think, because I always thought the early new Beetles were going to become collectible.
Yeah.
And I don't think they ever have.
Do you think there's just so few left because they went through their nobody gives a toss period?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just going to do a quick.
A bit like a really rare Smart, when they came over as left-hand drive to the UK before they gave us right-hand drive, and early adopters who were, chomping on the bit, they just paid and got one. But actually, I don't know if there's a rarity, rare but nobody cares going on, and I don't think it's worth any money.
No.
Maybe people who are specialists, forum warriors, maybe they can tell me I'm lying.
Apart from the fact that it's a sort of spooky coincidence, but yeah, this Beetle V5 was going the other way and it slowed as it went by in traffic. And I looked, there was a chap driving it. There was one other person in the car, a woman, his wife, I don't know. She was sitting in the back seat behind the driver's seat.
What's her not even on the opposite side?
And it was like, and I remember those Beetles did not have a lot of rear legroom. I was going,
No.
what is going on? And I was trying to see, and sort of slightly elevated position of the Bentayga, so I could kind of see into the Beetle. I was like, I can't see anything on the other seats unless there's a low tray with like some animals in it or something. But it didn't look like it.
What's going on?
It just looked like she'd chosen to sit in the worst seat in the car, behind the driver in a cramped car.
Maybe she was pissed and she just got in the car and then realised.
Just sort of collapsed into the back.
And then realised the error of her ways.
I mean, this was early afternoon, so
And this was a V5?
It was a V5, yeah.
Wow, rare.
What a weird coincidence that was. That I'd just been thinking about Beetle V5s.
Yeah. Funny enough, we are in danger of talking about cars again, but the VR6 has died.
Oh, yes.
The engine has finally been killed off by
was that not? By the way, I'm just searching.
Or was it last week?
It was
it
just
the week before Christmas?
Week before Christmas, I think it was. I think the news they didn't make a big deal out of it. Because I meant to look this up when I heard the news. What was still using the VR6?
It was a US spec. It wasn't the Atlas. Or was it the Atlas?
Oh, maybe.
Did they put it in the Atlas? But a few a few episodes ago, somebody said, what does Santa Claus drive?
Yeah.
Well, I was getting a bit dewy-eyed about the VR6 because although it was a cool engine, I never thought it was never a massively powerful engine, but yet
really,
the aftermarket has a huge tuning scene for those. They can be wound up really, really powerfully and turboed.
And they make quite a good noise, don't they?
They make a brilliant noise.
Really interesting noise.
They're an interesting engine.
Johnny, let me pitch you this. Volkswagen Beetle, 2-litre Cabrio Auto.
Oh.
It's 2004, it's had 12 owners. It's Cat D, but it could be yours for £300.
What?
Yeah. It's a Cabrio.
Is it on the road? Should we buy it now?
It's in Matlock in Derbyshire, so
Hey,
it's a bit of a trek.
that's an hour and a half from me.
Is it? Well, there you go. There's your new car. You
Well-
can put it next to your second smart roads.
My daughter. Look, the thing is, I'd normally scoff at the fact it's an auto, but the Manuel gearboxes, because I remember testing these when they were new, when I was a
Yeah.
very young journalist.
A bit sloppy, weren't
They were very low geared.
Oh, were they?
On the
Okay.
motorway, their 2 litre
Yeah.
was screeching its arse off.
I remember that.
And I couldn't work out why the final drive was so pathetically low.
It's weird, isn't it? You think, why would they do that? Was it
I don't know.
I don't know.
Because the
equivalent Golf like that?
I don't think it was.
But I don't know that you could get the 2 litre in the... Well, you could sort of... They were GTIs here, weren't they, at that point, in the Mark IV? But
It was weird that they only sold it with a 2 litre as well to start with. And then they did the 1.6, which was gutless.
Yes.
And then they did the V5, which is weird in the UK. Obviously, V5 means your ownership papers for your car.
Yes.
But yeah, I didn't think I'd be talking about.
No,
you know.
well, we should stop this now because we've talked a bit too much about strangers. The V5 that I found before for sale is still here. It's got 149,000 miles on it. It's a Cat C, but they're still having the temerity to ask £2,975 for it.
Well, I might.
Good luck with that.
I think Richard should buy that auto cabriolet.
That's one of those cars we just go for £300.
Oh, if the roof works.
You could almost do like 2 long journeys for less than a train ticket.
Oh shit, yeah.
It cost me £120 to go from here to London every week.
What?
Yeah, so actually I could buy that
Buy that Beetle Cabriolet and sell
a
it.
month's worth of train, even with the petrol and insurance chucked in.
Sell it to a pissed Londoner as well after a month's use. Do you know? I was going to.
It's not an awful car, is it? It's a car that's
No.
image was a bit sort of.
My daughter
Malign, but-
thinks they're cool because, of course, they're retro now.
And you put the roof back, it'd probably be quite jolly on a warm day. Anyway, look, let's not get bogged down in that. We need to wrap this up. But before we do, I have 3 things to tell you. They are: 1, Jonny is engaged in a remarkable project to rewrite a series of 19th century West Country novels, including Far from the Madding Crowd and Tess of the D'Urbervilles, but as if they're from the perspective of our favourite female singer, under the pseudonym Thomas Sade. If that's not to your taste, there is, of course, the Late Break Show. You're not going to know what's coming up, is it? Because it's not. It's like this will be on the 6th of January.
Oh no, I won't know.
Some excellent stuff.
But there will have been
Let's leave it
an exceptional Car Cave collection that went out the week before, which I urge you to watch. It's a his and hers lovely car collection, sweet car collection.
Ooh.
And and the other thing that I haven't done an episode on that I should is when I told my dad that I was coming up to see you tonight and staying at yours, my dad went, "Do you know what? I bought my first car in Bath."
Oh.
And I said, "Oh, what, your Hillman Imp?" And he went, yeah, I bought it from Bath because he said, I lived in Bath for 3 months before moving down to Taunton. And he said, do you know the funny thing about Bath? Because that's the first time I'd ever been there, he said. I saw lots of Americans driving around in big American cars. He said, it turns out that at the time he was living there, a huge cruise ship had come into somewhere... Bristol, maybe?
Yeah.
And he said a lot of wealthy Americans would bring their own car over.
Or Southampton, I suppose, not that far away.
Yeah, and they would tour the whole of the UK in their own car and then
God.
put it back in the belly of the ship and go.
What?
So he said, I saw round Bath like Lincoln Continentals and huge Buicks. Like
The streets are really narrow.
I know. He said it was hilarious.
A bit like Kevin Kline's character in Fish Called Wanda.
Yeah.
He's constantly setting off on the wrong side of the road and shouting, asshole! At
Yes.
people.
Honestly.
Wow, what was that then? 70s or 60s?
No, this was 60s. So I said to him, what year was this? He said it was early 68.
Oh, wow.
Very early 68.
Wow, precise.
His imp was a 65 or it was an early imp.
Yeah.
He remembers women with amazing sort of beehive style hair and huge jacket, looking extra glamorous.
Wow.
And driving around in ridiculous sized cars.
Aliens had landed.
Yeah.
In a sort of pre-internet age. Things you'd only heard about, suddenly there, crashing into some very old buildings.
Next time on Smith and Stiff, Bob's 60s memories.
See, well, as we know, your dad is on our guest waiver list, and we should get him on at some point.
We should,
He got the stories. Second thing I've got to tell you is that we are doing some more live shows. There is one happening, in fact, at the Pistonhead's Sunday service on the 19th of January, but it is sold out now, I'm afraid. So you cannot come to that unless you already have a ticket.
Sorry.
But why not come to Eastbourne on the south coast on the 6th of February, Thursday the 6th of February. We're playing the Shackleton Hall. I said playing now.
Oh,
with the bloody
playing.
Beatles. I meant we are talking shit at the Shackleton Hall on Thursday, 6th of February in Eastbourne. And then on Wednesday, the 12th of March, we are at the Tesla Centre in Manchester, opposite the Etihad Stadium. Buy tickets for that as well. Hope to see you there.
We'd love to have you over.
We certainly would.
Yeah.
The third thing I've got to tell you is that we are now further from the start of a lower low than the start of a lower low was from the end of the Second World War.
What? God, that's really scary.
Isn't it weird?
You're good at this trivia shit, aren't you?
I don't know what I had to work this one out. But the Second World War ended in 1945. The Alo pilot was made 37 years later in 1982. And then the full first series of Alo was in 1984, so 39 years later than the war. And we're now just we're 41 years on from that. So,
Goodness gracious me.
Isn't that weird? Alo. It's like anyway, look, I can't be bothered to explain it more than that. You know what I mean?
It's a thing.
There we go. Anyway.
It's a thing.
Well, that's it for now, but we'll be back again on Friday with another Otter Sot and Monday with a regular podcast. Until then, goodbye.
Giddy up, Jingle Horse. On that side of things.
So you've enjoyed this podcast, but you've had a thought. Is there a way here today that you could show support? Well, you could join our Patreon. What wonders that it brings. Early shows and extra notes on that side of things. You could buy our merchandise. We've mugs and hats, but still no ties. One day we will make those pies, but in the meantime, guys, hey guys, like and subscribe, and maybe leave a nice review. Like and subscribe, we know you know just what to do. Like and subscribe, we don't want to take the piss. Like and subscribe, but we were told to ask for this. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, fucking, what they call a fucking they got their head antenna shit going on and
Got an aerial on their head.
No, and there was a geezer who used to hang out with Father Christmas. He got a hooter with a thing and a white. He's a jingle